Since the early 19th century, hundreds of thousands of immigrants from Poland set sail chasing dreams of a better life, free from poverty and war, sometimes simply out of curiosity about the world. For the next 200 years, the wave of migration never ceased. Emigration is a part of our DNA. You'll find Poles on every continent. Some of them found success, others faced struggle. But wherever we went, we brought more than just suitcases. We got heart, resilience, hard work, and a deep drive to contribute to society. From small towns to big cities, Polish immigrants have left their mark. Join us as we explore the stories of Polish immigrants who changed their lives and the lives of the places they came to.
Chemistry is really the most central science because chemistry is defined by the smallest dimensions of atoms, which then build molecules which have certain function, certain behavior, certain properties. And manipulating this molecular structure is really a biggest challenge. So without chemistry, there would be no progress in electronics, in computer science. It would be no progress in biology, especially molecular biology. It's very difficult to answer this question because I probably didn't have a best chemistry teacher in school. But somehow I recall reading the book Madame Curie, which probably fascinating because she was a Polish person and chemist and 2 Nobel Prizes, so she was really, and she's an absolute hero in any kind of a scientific aspect. When I graduated with my PhD, it was 1976, and then I got a postdoctoral position at University of Florida with George Butler, and I stayed there from 1977-78, and because of a different political situation in Poland, I could not come with my family to US, but only my wife visited me for more or less a month, and our son stayed as a really guarantee that I will return back to Poland. And after my return, I did my habilitation. And meanwhile, there were many political changes. First, it was extremely attractive to return to Poland after '78 because of a Polish Pope and Nobel Prizes, Solidarity movement. And then our dreams somehow were crushed in '81, and in fact was very difficult to do any scientific high quality work. So in '84, I moved luckily with my family to Paris. And meanwhile, my very good friend and colleague, Professor Tyrrell, who is now a provost at California Institute of Technology, told me that he will be leaving Carnegie Mellon, and he encouraged me to apply for a position here at CMU. Carnegie Mellon is a very unusual university. It was funded by Andrew Carnegie, who was the richest man in the world at the beginning of the 20th century. And he essentially gave away all of his fortune, which was much larger than Gates and others combined together, and even Elon Musk. And he gave all of the money to charity. He funded, because he was from Pittsburgh, he funded Carnegie Institute of Technology. And this was school mostly for engineers. And meanwhile, in parallel, Mellon family, so it was family of very rich bankers in Pittsburgh, they funded Mellon Institute, mostly for the reason to compete with a very successful German chemical industry. And they decided to merge either with University of Pittsburgh, which is in fact closer to Mellon, or Carnegie Tech. And they started Carnegie Mellon in 1968. Polymers are practically everywhere. So our clouds, our surroundings, essentially, polymers are everywhere. If you look at the amount of polymers made annually, it is now approximately 400 million tons. So it is 400 billion kilograms. If you divide it by 8 billion people, it is 1 kilo per week of polymers produced synthetically for many, many purposes. But also we need to think that our bodies are 70% water and the rest are polymers. And these polymers would be nucleic acids, which are responsible for our genetic material, for our dreams, for our memories, but also proteins, which would be really working horses. So without them, we would not be able to digest, we would not be really able to function as human beings. But also you can think of polymers which would be really delivering pharmaceuticals or drugs in general. When people get cancer, they are using very toxic drugs, which not targeting only cancer tissue, but also healthy tissue. And people lose, in the best case, hair, but sometimes they lose their lives. So can we, by attaching these drugs to polymers, target particular, in that case, cancer tissues, and deliver selectively this toxic material there and killing cancer?
Professor Matyjaszewski invented the atom transfer radical polymerization, or ATRP, process, which is essentially a very versatile and efficient way to synthesize polymers that we use in products in our everyday life. And he created ways to make these polymers that are very energy efficient, they're very green and sustainable, and so he's making products or enabling companies to make products in ways that are much better than they were in the past.
We had two startups. One was called ATRP Solutions, and this was focused on making some surfactants for secondary oil recovery, for cosmetics and some specialties. It was acquired by a bigger company, Pilot Chemicals. And then it was another one, and we have also an idea about the biohybrid, combining proteins with polymers in order to first maybe do enzymatic reactions in organic solvents, but also using them as a catalyst for biological purpose, essentially solving some problems, whether it would be gout, which I mentioned, or with insulin, and also another one which is funded by Department of Defense on how to have a prophylactics against the chemical warfare, about some toxic materials like soman, sarin, tabun, and also novichok and some others. And I think it's an important development, especially in our difficult times today.
What Professor Matyjaszewski has done is he's created a consortium of a number of industrial companies that contribute funding into the research, and then they get to preview that research and, I guess, think about whether it's something that they would want to commercialize. So he has, I think, developed more direct relationships with companies than most academic faculty do. He's doing exceptionally well. He's also spun out a couple of different startup companies with students who graduated from his laboratory. And so he's also an entrepreneur as well as someone who partners with established companies.
most rewarding is that if you solve some problems, that you struggle with finding solutions, developing new material or new polymerization technique, and then this can be done successfully, sometimes unexpectedly, so it is even more joyful. And at the same time, it's not only me, but doing that with my group members, students or postdocs. And I think together with them, when you solve it collectively, it's really like a double joy, because you could see them, how they develop, how they become more creative and smarter and intelligent, also how they learn. There was a element in everything, is element of luck. But there was a pretty famous saying, the harder I work, the luckier I am. And I think, it's together. So meaning that if you have even a good idea, and if you don't follow it up by pretty intense work, you will miss it. I mean, there are some extremely, genius people, which I don't believe I am, who can work, 1% of that what I do. But I do it because I like it. I mean, really, it's a passion. I come to my office 7 days a week. It's a question, what is the future of chemistry? Is it only sustainable? Is it smart materials? Is it bio-related? I think probably all of them together is relevant. So chemistry, in my opinion, would go in this environmental issue. It would go into the bio issue, energy-related, and sustainability, meaning how we can go back from polymers to monomers and polymerize them again. In fact, we have substantial project on that as well.
We want chemistry to be part of the solution for making our planet more sustainable, the environment more healthy, and people's lives being more higher quality and longer.
When I wake up, I can immediately function. My wife and many people don't, so they need a sip of coffee or something. I don't. I am just ready to work. And the main driving force is really curiosity. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you have a logical approach? How you can solve it? And I think this approach is really something which to me is also motivation to do more research. I'm a pretty lucky person, and I would say when I was a kid in school, I would never dream about what I achieved so far, what happened. It would be unfair to ask for more. At the same time, if you think about your family, and this family is both genetic family, but also family of my students and postdocs. So I'm getting a lot of satisfaction looking at them, and some of them are becoming maybe as good or better than me. And I dream would be the same story with my kids and grandchildren, and the same with all my friends in Poland. I'm always thinking that I feel better if my friends are better.